Good Tuesday morning to you. This is the Velco Weather Hazards Outlook, and this is valid the rest of Tuesday through next Monday, January the 12th. And for the most part, we don't have a whole lot of real big hazards ahead. The biggest hazard will be the Arctic chill. We're currently looking at a weather system crossing into the middle Atlantic states right now, leaving a trail of snow, in some cases as much as 10 inches, and back over parts of the Midwest. And this trail of snow, kind of an Alberta Clipper system coming back from the Dakotas, another one upstream. But this is now going to looks like it's going to be just getting into the vicinity of Vermont to produce a few flurries, mainly across southern and central areas primarily, and really not be a big deal for us. But we're watching it move through parts of the middle Atlantic states and develop this area of low pressure here, which will then slide off the coast well to the south of us. It's very cold, and that's the big news, the big cold Arctic air mass off to the north of us. And also there's some light flurry activity, pretty much scattered throughout a large area, a lot of cloud cover as well. And in terms of temperatures, we're seeing the sort of lighter colors here, the purple, with some very, very cold weather. And you can see that back, especially north of the Great Lakes, and minus teens and a few minus 20s this morning, even a minus 30-degree temperature there up in parts of Quebec. Very cold air mass is going to be pretty much hanging out up to the north of us, and occasionally each Alberta Clipper system out ahead of it will bring in slightly milder air and modify the air mass, and then sharply colder air on the backside of that system. Looking at the latest weather modeling, this is the precipitable water, and these lighter gray colors, more toward the white blend, is usually indicative of the very cold air masses. Also, it doesn't hold very much water. Out over here, this is the subtropical air that is pretty juiced up, typically from the Gulf of Mexico and, of course, the Atlantic, subtropical Atlantic, and also the subtropical Pacific. So we run the models here. We're running for the next 10 days, and what you can see is it's primarily very cold Arctic air, very dry Arctic air. A little bit of a bleed here, and this is valid roughly about Friday, where we squirt in just a slightly more moist air, slightly more warmer air, but it just barely misses Vermont, and another Arctic plunge over the weekend, although not as severe as the stuff we'll be seeing Wednesday night into Thursday. And then later, as time goes on, we see another cold air mass for next week, and we could see temperatures almost equal, it looks like, at some point the early to mid part of next week as what we have coming for Wednesday night and Thursday. So we're not going to be done with the Arctic air, but it does look like there'll be some warming down the road a piece across a wide area, especially the northeast United States, as a lot of Pacific moisture will eventually flood east and cut off the Arctic air. Quick look at the weather systems, and if you concentrate on the Great Lakes, it's pretty phenomenal. Think of this, the Great Lakes, as kind of a smoldering fire, which with a little bit of smoke each time the wind direction kind of blows it around, and you can kind of see that. And that is just moisture downwind of the Great Lakes. It's kind of like a smoldering fire, but this makes it into Vermont frequently. This is why we don't have any really decent, good project weather days. But many days we'll have partly sunny skies, but also the chance for a few flurries. The more organized weather systems really stay well to the south of us. Of note, the current one moving through the middle Atlantic states slides off the coast. We have a little bit of lake effect business coming in with a secondary trough of low pressure, and this will be in effect for Wednesday afternoon. That's valid about 1 o'clock. That is an Arctic front, and we have some stronger winds. The pressure gradient picks up. An area of low pressure, 991 millibars off the coast. This will take place, and what we're looking at here is conditions, a little bit of a ridge of higher pressure for Thursday, and then we get into another weather system, Alberta Clipper system, that kind of moves on by and brings us a little bit of lake-enhanced snow shower and flurry activity, maybe some squalls into that, and an area of higher pressure to the south kind of keeps that westerly wind blowing. And then we have one more organized system at about 7 to 8 days out. This is looks like it's going to stay south, but these things in history has been showing that they want to move north. So we'll see how that works. That would be a coastal system, and it moves off the coast here, but we're definitely a volatile system. Now, this is way out, not till Wednesday around the 14th of January. And just a quick look at total snowfall. This is total accumulations over the course of 10 days. And you can see generally around the Great Lakes here, we do pick up some snowfall, and occasionally gets into Vermont. We get kind of incrementally a little bit more snow each day, so it kind of adds up. And we're not looking at it very much until that next weather system looks like about 9, 10 days out. But things could change. We'll see how this works out. But overall, probably the best snow conditions across the Ohio River Valley, certainly the Great Lakes, and then some parts of the northwest British Columbia and Alberta and the northern Canadian Rockies, and then south into the northern Rockies of the U.S. So where's the coldest weather in the northern hemisphere? It is definitely across Siberia. That's a usual situation. Recent years we haven't seen as much as even some parts of North America. Greenland has some. These are the shades of purple here. So this air mass is really nothing compared to this is what we're seeing in northern Siberia. However, you might notice these wind barbs here. This is cross-polar flow that'll be taking some of this eventually across, but it looks like it's going to stay up basically as the polar vortex is going to be the main issue here, with the Arctic oscillation in a very strong positive phase, really over the course of much of the month of January. That's going to hug a lot of the cold air up to the north of us. Eventually, we're going to see some breakthrough westerlies across the Pacific, and then give us temperatures either neutral to above normal across a wide area below 48. That looks like that happens basically down the road a piece toward mid-January. And here's the 5-day temperature, max temperature anomalies, and you can see temperatures pretty cold, 9 degrees below normal, 18 degrees below normal here in the Ohio River Valley, and of course some warming taking place across the western U.S. And just moving that along about 3 days, advancing that warmer air basically hangs out in the western U.S., and it remains cold for the rest of the eastern two-thirds of the U.S. In terms of the daily temperatures, using the Iowa State meteogram here, you can see high temperatures basically in the teens for today. Tonight, really nothing significant. A little weather system moving in that clipper and allowing for a little bit of a southerly flow. So temperatures max out a little bit warmer during the day tomorrow, and then they sharply fall. This would be a pretty drastic cold front, in fact, an Arctic front. And these temperatures make a dive. You can see here solid minus 15. The European model gives us somewhere between 10 and 25 degrees below zero, and this again happens for Thursday morning. And then we see temperatures rise just as dramatically right back into this sort of level area here. So high temperatures on Thursday look like they're going to make at least 10 degrees above, and then we'll see a little bit of an uptick in temperature to about 20 by the time we get toward Friday. And then some smaller incremental changes taking place with some Arctic air being tugged in behind these passing clipper systems that move through, and the jet stream little wiggles. And each one of those gives us a little shot of warmer air ahead of it, a little colder air behind it, but nothing as extreme as what we're looking at here for Wednesday night, Thursday. So in summary, we have a quiet period with cold Arctic air displacing a lot of our jet stream energy to the south of us. This is all good news for our location, and gives them a little turn at some of the fun and games. And but we're looking at really all snow, blue, and not a tremendous amount. You can see these little shortwave troughs trigger off a little bit of snow showers. A little more uncertainty as we get down to the 12th, 13th of January, but no big warm-ups in sight. This is all good news. Let's keep the air, the warm air, which equals a lot of problems for utilities to our south. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights Consulting.